Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell. Lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and of course, I'm here with Lee Cockerell. How are you doing today, Lee?
I'm good, sir. Good to hear from you.
Well, it's always good to talk to you. Now, today I want to talk about hiring. You believe hiring and promoting outstanding people is one of the most important responsibilities of a manager or a leader. What is the key to always hiring outstanding people?
Well, I think there are a few things. One, I worked with a lady on identifying the kinds of questions to ask, first of all, and we've really come to the conclusion that asking 4 or 5 or 6 questions that have big obstacles in them and see how the person handles obstacles in their life. And we've learned that people that can overcome obstacles are really the best performers. And so instead of just having these loose questions, I would suggest people, actually in my book, The Customer Rules, there's a chapter on that, rule number 9, about how to ask those right questions, how to come up with the right questions, and then teaching you what to listen for. When you ask a question, you might say, tell me about a specific time you had to deal with an irate customer. If it's going to be a retail person, then you want to listen to what they tell you. And what was the final outcome? How did they solve it? People with this can-do attitude they just go out there and they figure it out and they work on it for a year if they have to. They don't ever give up. And then the can't-do person kind of tries for 5 minutes and walks away and moves on to the next thing in their life. And so doing a good job with interviewing obviously is very powerful. And then I think also explaining your expectations to the person you're interviewing about what it's like to work here. Here's our expectations, whether it's weekend work or sometimes we're going to have you work 6 days in a row, or you're going to have to work Christmas or New Year's or Mother's Day or Easter. And just make sure you're very clear with expectations so that the person doesn't accept a job that they don't really agree with a lot of your expectations. It's better you tell them up front and they can move on to somewhere else and you hire the right kind of person. And I think, too, Disney does a good job of they've got a series of questions you go on the internet and answer now about yourself, about 130 questions, actually, and they're to test. They're looking for predictive behavior like high energy, ability to hang in there, and tenacity and discipline. And they want to find out if you can really do that, because working at Disney is pretty hard. I mean, it's 8 hours on your feet. It's busy all day. It's hot, 90 degrees. It rains. The customers may not be happy. And so they want to find out if you're wired in the right positive way to work at Disney and to be able to maintain those high standards all day long. Sometimes you might be better off to not hire that person, let them go on to a place that's not quite as busy, because where they can get more breaks or they can sit down more often or it's not as strenuous. So that's some of the work Disney does. But I think, again, then going back, after you decide you're going to hire them and you've explained the expectations clearly to them so there's no misunderstandings, then you get them hired. And after that, you train them. And that's kind of the key in life, is hiring great people. I can't imagine anything's more important if you're running a small business, an entrepreneur of 3 or 4 or 5 people, or a big company with 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, or a mega company like Disney with really tens of thousands. At the end of the day, your people are your brand. They are your reputation, how they represent your company, how they face the customer, how they smile, how they are on their feet, how they walk toward the door when you come in, how they really make you feel welcome. All of these things really become the brand of your company. And products are important, but I don't care how many great products you have. If you got terrible service, people will find another place to buy that product. And we're even seeing that with Amazon. Every product you can go out into your community and buy, Amazon carries now. So the really only advantage you have as a merchant out there is to just have fabulous, great people that just go out of their way to make sure you get incredible experience and service. So I would say that's the main reason. Everything's a commodity now, and your only advantage can be your people. That's how you have to think about it and take it more seriously. They say in America, we hire too fast and we fire too slow. We don't take our time to get really high quality people. And sometimes we don't take our time before we promote people into a higher level of responsibility. And then we end up with all kinds of problems, legal, HR, or government, lawyers getting involved because of discrimination, suits, and all this kind of stuff. So you're better off to take your time, screen the people well, clarify your expectations, and then hire slower. And then if you make a mistake, deal with it right away. Don't let it go. Let them go on, move on to another company. It's not your fault if they don't perform. It's their fault. So you shouldn't feel bad about it. and you'll get better and better at it. That's how you'll do. And when you interview people, you have 5 or 6, 7 questions for that job, and you ask all applicants for that single job the exact same questions and see who answers the questions the best. And it's pretty amazing how the cream rises to the top. You will immediately see over the 4 or 5 interviews which person you know is going to be the most positive, can-do, get-it-done person. And that's who you want on your team.
When you are interviewing somebody, let's say you have 10 candidates for a job and you ask them all the same questions, what is it that makes 1 or 2 people really stand out to you over the others? What is it that you hear that makes you think, okay, this is somebody that would be a fit at Disney?
Yeah, first of all, you're going to be asking them a question they don't expect because they don't know what the questions are going to be. So they can't kind of make up their story. They just have to start answering it. And the person who really can tell you what they did and did it in a positive way, they can go on about it for 5, 10, 15 minutes telling you about how it played out. That's the key. And the other people will just, they can't really answer it because they didn't really do it, or they didn't do it very well, or they don't have a lot of passion around taking care of the customer. So they don't answer that question as well. And it's like anybody. When you line up a bunch of people and ask them the same question, it will just become clear to you which ones have the right approach to solving that obstacle that you just presented them with. And it just unfolds. And we tell them when they come in, we're going to ask you 6 questions. We're going to take notes, and we're going to ask you how you resolved the issues we ask you about and the obstacles, and we'd just like you to explain it to us. And even Carol Quinn, this lady I wrote the book with on the customer rules, with rule number 9, she's got a 4-hour video training course online that I think it's called Don't Hire Anybody Without Me. But it's very cool. And I took the course, and it has video presentations of showing different people being interviewed and showing how the great people just stand out. Just incredible how they stand out. So, because what you're passionate about and what you have a great attitude about, you can talk about all day long. If you don't, you probably can't talk about it very long. Like if you asked me to talk about American baseball, I couldn't talk very long. I don't know much about it. But I guarantee you, I know other people, they'll talk your leg off for 3 days. Or the Final Four, let me tell you. People at Duke, I'm sure, can talk about it better than I can. So it's just amazing how you can talk about what you know about, what you're passionate about, and what interests you, and what doesn't, you can't talk about. All of us are the same. We are who we are.
Now, you've said before that Disney hired outstanding people because the guests deserve to have a wonderful experience at every moment of their visit. I've really not heard anyone else say this about hiring. It makes me wonder how different things would be if more organizations took that approach. Can you just go a little deeper into that concept?
Yeah, I just think, when you think about it, the people that take their time on anything you do that's important, no matter what it is in your life, whatever's important to you, and you take your time doing it, you always do it better. You become more knowledgeable about it. I can guarantee you we can all name the companies who we know must do that. Costco, Starbucks, Apple. When you go into their stores, their kids are working there. They're energetic. They're high level. They work with you. They're happy to see you. The great brands do a great job of hiring great people. If you want to have an average company, hire average people. They're a lot easier to find. If you want to have a poor company, that's really easy. That's no problem at all. There's a bunch of them out there just waiting to come in. And then if you want to have a great company, you've got to work harder at it. It's like anything in life. If you want to be in great physical shape, you got to work harder at it. If you want to have knowledge about something in your life, you want to get better at knowing more about something, you got to study harder. You got to read more. You got to follow up on it more. You got to research it more. And this is what we're trying to find is people who are just really, they're wired this way. They're born this way. And I tell people, you got to hire people with a can-do attitude and high passion because you can't train that. You cannot fix people's attitude. You don't hire them and think you're going to fix it. This is impossible. And you're going to waste a lot of time, and you're better spending that time to hire great people. And we all see it when we have interactions with people, even if it's simply on the phone, the high energy and how they make you feel like they're so excited you called and they want to help you, and they go out of their way and they tell you they'll call you back on Friday, and they do at the time they said, and they give you a lot of confidence. And it's a kind of one of those soft things, but boy, at the end of the day, it is vital that you do this way. And we all have an experience every day when we go out of people who've made the mistake of hiring the wrong people, hiring introverts that have to deal with customers and they don't enjoy it and they don't like it and they don't want to do it and they wish the day was over when they get up in the morning. these people are not going to represent your company well. So this is one people got to take to heart and start thinking more about it than they do. Probably most people don't think enough about this and the impact that it's going to have on you and your life and your customers and your bottom line, by the way, your profit.
Well, I was just in Tennessee and I ate at a Chick-fil-A, which we do not have in Washington State where I live. And I was so impressed on how I was treated like a valuable guest by teenage employees, which don't have the best reputation for being hard workers and putting in the effort, but yet you go to Chick-fil-A and every one of them is doing it right. And would you say that's a product of great hiring?
Absolutely. Chick-fil-A is one of my favorite places. Not only is the Chick number 7 sandwich only 285 calories, it fills you up and it tastes great, but the service is incredible. And I don't care which Chick-fil-A you go to in the world. Any interstate exit you get off Chick-fil-A or in Washington or I was just in Washington. It's the same thing, actually, and it's consistent. You wouldn't even know where you were because they hire great, polite, good-looking, professional people that are wired to take care of you, and they've got a reputation for it, by the way. They're far above McDonald's and other fast food restaurants in the quality of the hires they have, and they're just booming with business. I just did work for another restaurant in Washington last weekend, Cava, C-A-V-A, Cava Grills. There's only 8 of them right now, but you're going to see them across the country. Think about Chipotle, but with Greek food. So you get your bowl and you go down the line and they put more great stuff on that maybe. I mean, let me tell you, it is incredible. And the staff is unbelievable. But tasty Greek food, just like Chipotle. Yeah, there it's Mexican. Here it is. And they are focused on hiring the right people, the right managers, the right executives, and treating people, everybody in the company to have an opportunity to have a good life and move up and get better jobs and bigger jobs. And so you'll see this restaurant come out. I was so impressed. I spent 2 days with them just helping them think about how they're going to get bigger and how they're going to hire great people, and they're already doing it. So that will carry them, when you have great people. I got there early, by the way, to the restaurant. It opens at 11, but they unlocked the door at 10:45. So I just went in. I said, "You guys open?" They said, "Sure, come on in, have a drink on us." And there's, I got some honey green tea. And, most people, you go and they don't unlock the door till the exact second at 11 o'clock. And they said, "No, we want you to come on in." And that way they keep you and you don't walk away and go somewhere else. Just little things like that make such a big difference. And the attitude was terrific.
That's good to hear. Well, I know you like listener questions on the show. And I have a special listener question today from Drew Smith from Texas. Drew is only 12 years old, and he listens to the Creating Disney Magic podcast with his father. So I'm just thrilled that we have a question from him. Drew would like to know if you know what inspired the creation of the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride to be brought to Fantasyland.
Yeah, well, they're always looking for more rides that fit the younger group, and kids like something a little scary, too. I came to the conclusion years ago, kids like to get wet and they like to get scared. So that's why Disney does well with roller coasters and all kinds of fun dark rides. And Seven Dwarfs, that's when you think about it, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that was the movie that probably made the Disney company end up being successful because they put it in color and it turned out to be a big hit, and it really saved the company, the income from that movie way back when it was produced. And Seven Dwarfs has always been a very strong Disney. Everybody knows about the Seven Dwarfs, and so I think they try to pick themes, if you will, of the mining cars. Make sense. You can make a good ride out of a mining car and with a runaway mining car. I mean, that's just, what could scare you more than being in a dark mine with a runaway car? So yeah. They always pick. Disney's got plenty of themes to pick from because there's so much fantasy back there and all the fairy tales that have been written through the years. And Seven Dwarfs, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs certainly was one of them.
Well, Drew, at 12 years old, speaks often about being an executive at Disney someday, just like you were. What little advice would you have for Drew to prepare himself? Now that he's 12, he's got some time to get ready for it. What would you recommend?
Well, I think anything today, he needs to really focus on making sure he's doing great work in school, making excellent grades, getting himself ready to go to college and decide what area of the business he wants to be in. Imagineering, he might want to be an engineer. He may want to go to engineering school. He may want to go to art school. He may want to go to other kinds of degrees that are creative, music, acting. But I will tell you, at the end of the day, people want to do a lot of things, but if you don't do well in school these days, those days like me of getting a great job are probably harder today. I'm not even sure I'd get an interview today if you don't have a degree and you're not doing well. Back in my day, I slipped through. And you can still slip through a little bit, but I can tell you, at the end of the day, education is the difference. Education is everything. And I would tell Drew, be better than everybody else. Just be outstanding with your attitude, be reliable, do everything you're supposed to do, and even more. And then really, if you think it's Disney, then you just study Disney upside down. And when you're old enough and in college, get on the college program and work at Disney for 6 months like my son did. And it's an incredible program. You get great experience. And those are the kind of things. And at the end of the day, it's education, experience, and attitude. Those are the things that get you ahead in life. And I love it. A 12-year-old is listening to this because it's never too early to start preparing yourself to be a good leader, a good manager. And I hear from a lot of parents, actually, that say they're now listening to the podcast on Wednesday morning and they're talking about it with their children at dinner for the rest of the week and kind of using that as a good theme for having a nice family dinner together where everybody learns something. And Disney's certainly a lot of fun to talk about. So it's a good idea. And I think a lot of companies could be doing this too. You know, listen to it at the staff meeting on Tuesday morning. And then talk about it all week. How can we put this in our business, what Lee talked about? How can we get better at hiring? How can we get better at training? How can we get better at whatever we want to do? So it's a free education, and there it is. And so, good. 12-year-olds are great. They're all we got. They are our future.
Yes. Well, thank you, Lee, for another great episode. I want to remind our listeners that we're on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. We would love it if you subscribe or leave a comment and a rating. Thank you for listening to Creating Disney Magic. Now you can go out and create magic in your organization.